Mm. Really should be drinking a beer before doing this video. Hey guys, DRJ here, and today I wanted to be bringing you my first thoughts on Battlefield 3. So, anybody who was present in the initial live stream yesterday probably saw or rather heard my frustration with this game. I want so badly to like this, and I overall was left with a slightly bitter taste in my mouth for a few reasons that I'll explain later on. But I was so hoping that this game would be essentially ushering in a new era into what I consider a very downtrodden sort of FPS genre at the moment. I thought that Battlefield would be the perfect game to do it, essentially, because when it came out, 10, 12 years ago, it was such a fresh look on how to tackle the FPS genre then. Like conquest style gaming combined with vehicles and planes and things like that added so many new layers of depth, and it was just so much fun. And once you played something like that, you're like, gosh, I can never go back to just playing that same old boring TDM again. It was like the best and the worst thing to happen to me, because I was like, gosh, it was so much fun, but at the same time, I'm like, man, nothing else is going to be as much fun as this style of gaming again. So, let's see. Let's start. The first thing I noticed was there were no separate sensitivity settings for tanks, planes, helicopters, and infantry. What this means is that you're probably going to be choosing a sensitivity that matches whatever you want to be doing in a match, and then for everything else you're probably going to have some difficulties. My experience playing Battlefield Vietnam and Battlefield 1942, typically when you were flying the helicopters and planes and things like that, you wanted a much higher sensitivity than you did when you were on foot. So I'm not sure how they're going to work that. I did notice in Bad Company 2 that they didn't have separate sensitivity settings either. So I'm not surprised that it's not there, but at the same time, I figured maybe it was an oversight that they left it out in Bad Company 2, but it's also not there in BF3, so who knows. There's also no ping. No ping is currently displayed in the servers, which is definitely a little worrisome. One of the issues that was in Bad Company 2 is essentially the game had this sort of clunky, slow feel to it, and part of that, I believe, was attributed to the fact that at least on PC, everybody in a server had anywhere from 150 to 300 ping, despite the fact that in the server browser I would ping like, say, 40 to that server. Battlefield 3 actually has a very, very similar feel as far as being sort of slow, clunky, laggy. I'm trying how to explain this. It's actually very hard to put my finger on. Yesterday when I actually changed my graphical settings from high to low, my frames jumped up from like 40 to 50 and they went all the way up to 90. So that definitely made a difference, turning my graphics down to low. To give you some sort of idea of the computer I'm running, I mean, it's a Core i7-2600. I have a GTX 570, 16 gigs of RAM, several terabytes of hard drive space. So definitely not a weak computer, and I was surprised to see that big of a frame jump. But like I said, we're not seeing those pings in the server, and it makes me skeptical to know whether or not they figured out that ping issue, because it feels like everyone actually, it was good to see the people talking about this. It felt like people randomly in the server talking about how the damage you take is very, very high, but it feels inconsistent. Sometimes you can spray people and take them down, a few guys at one time. Other times it feels like you can stumble on two guys' backs, and it happened multiple times yesterday, and it has happened many times to me in Bad Company 2, where I shoot the first guy, move on to the second guy thinking the first guy's dead, and then the first guy's still alive, and I put what I thought it was 10 to 15 rounds into him, and he shouldn't be there. But other times, you will burst somebody and they will go down, and especially it feels like you go down very, very fast in game. I think the game essentially has a brutal feel to it, is I think the best way to describe it. I think this is essentially attributed to, once again, the only map that I've played is Metro on Rush. We'll talk about that in a little bit, which lends itself to this idea of how I feel about the game. But it's very, very difficult to see where people are at. There's a lot of bushes, and essentially, people are making all sorts of jokes in the live stream yesterday about Bush Wookie this and Bush Wookie that, but 9 times out of 10, when you're killed, or usually when you're killing somebody, you are essentially laying prone somewhere behind cover, prone in a bush. Very, very frustrating, because it's you just can't tell where people are at. And I think your success in any given match of Battlefield 3 thus far, in my opinion, is largely determined by how good the other team is doing. Essentially how many snipers they have, how diligent they are about looking for people, you know, standing up at all. I've had matches where, you know, it feels like you can't stand up at all. The moment that you are visible to anybody anywhere, that you are dead instantaneously. And I've had other matches where I feel like I can run around and I'm doing okay. I think it just largely depends on the other team, and I think that we're seeing a large discrepancy simply because it's the, you know, first days of the demo. Yeah, I'm not saying beta. You know, it is possible to go on kill streaks in the game. You know, here's a decent example of that. But, you know, in my opinion, I wouldn't classify what you just saw as having a whole lot to do with skill. Essentially, you know, you're proning, unproning, and taking guys down, you know, taking guys out in the bushes and things like that. And it's just, if that's what's passing for essentially skill in this game, I really don't want any part of it, because I think that has absolutely nothing to do with skill. Let's see, what's the, is there anything else? I think that's oh, the bugs. Man, this is understandable because the game is, you know, still technically not released yet. Like, there's no current way, at least on PC, to play with friends. We could not join the same servers yesterday separately. The party feature doesn't work. It says that the server is full, or you get some error depending on who's joining and who's hosting. And then there's a large amount of bugs in the game. Sometimes, some of these I can see, some of them I can't. There's a bunch of issues essentially with either going through the ground or not coming up to where you should. Oftentimes it feels like you're crouching, but what I've seen yesterday many times, and felt it myself, is somebody's essentially half in the world and half out of it. This is noticeable in the first 3 seconds of gameplay, so I'm a little surprised that that's there. Oftentimes you throw out your med kits and your ammo packs and things like that, and it just creates a lot of issues if you're laying on them. It seems like it almost forces you through the ground. I've been killed many times by people essentially that are outside, that have somehow managed to force themselves into the ground, that are killing people in the subways underneath. So some interesting bugs going on. I'm sure some of those can be fixed, some of them, who knows, but hopefully they fix the ability to at least play with friends. That would be nice. So now I'm basically going to let you guys, walk you guys through some gameplay yesterday. This is a very, very average round. I've done much, much better, and I've also done much worse. So this is pretty average, and then, you know, afterwards, let you guys know when I hear your feedback, criticisms, critiques, all that stuff. Let me know what you guys experienced with this game. So here it is.